24, Driving Business.
Very good morning, and how are you doing? It's yet another fresh week, and welcome to the show. That is a Smart Men's Business. I'm Anji Ubariji. I'm here with Masika Tsime as we are going to be driving your business all the way throughout this entire week. Well, I would also love to take this opportunity to welcome you from that long weekend. I know it's been quite long for some people, depending on what you really had to go through at the moment. Masi, how are you? How was your weekend?
Oh well, good morning Andrew, good morning everyone. I am excited to be here. It's a Monday and we are wrapping up. This is the final day.
Yeah, actually the final day of the month. The
final day of the month of July. We are getting into August tomorrow. So my weekend was actually interesting. It was good. I don't have to give you details.
Of course, that is
I don't have to give you details, but
I can have a clue of how it was.
You know, I'm always excited to be here on a Monday because I know people, also excited as well, to kickstart their day.
Yeah.
And of course, don't to forget that your day can be started when you tune into Smart 24 TV and of course watch Smart Men's Business with us, me, Masika Tsime, and of course Andrew. Otherwise, as you prepare to begin a new month, which is tomorrow, I hope today is the final day where you have to set your goals, for the next month, and of course start what do they call it? Going through the books and cross-checking.
Cross-checking your goals and all that. What you've been at.
The profits, the losses. The thing about people do not plan for losses.
People don't plan for losses because nobody expects losses. I mean, they tell us to be positive.
So
why should I expect a loss?
You have to be positive, but then of course you have to understand that these things. There are things that are inevitable. They come, they happen. So not every time that you're going to thrive, no. Sometimes you sleep a bit, so you have to plan.
But very few people have such a mindset that you can actually sometime incur losses. Those are the hard realities of life.
So please prepare for those things in advance.
All right, very interesting, and of course quite lots of conversations are going to be coming up on the show. Yes, of course, even away from that, the weekend had quite lots of interesting events. We saw the president of Uganda in Russia, and away from Russia, of course, coming in down to Serbia. Well, but of course, before we proceed into any discussion, since it's a fresh week, the markets on the Zabo platform are also back in action. Now, for you to be a part of this, it's quite very simple. Star 292# is the code for you there, which will avail you with options where you'll be in position to actually own government bonds or securities for a fee of just 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Now, as I speak right now, if just a few hours left, the markets will be opening at exactly 8:15 a.m., running all the way to 3:15 p.m. And this is effective Monday up to Friday, apart from the weekends and the public holidays when these markets cannot be accessed. But of course, despite that, you have the rest of the days to capitalize and make some profits. So Zabomed is a reality for you, regardless of your location. As long as you have your phone, you will be in actually position to buy bonds and securities. Now, Zabo simply says, my money, my future. And Alltex East Africa tells you, do something new. And of course, you got to remember that it's the year 2023. Okay, now of course, the kick start off with our morning call, and well, it's going to be really into the story, the effects. I mean, what has been happening with Russia, Uganda-Russia cooperation, but of course, above all, the aspect of the Africa-Russia cooperation. Well, some of the key aspects which Russia promised actually to give a hand to African nations was in lines with peace, to maintain peace, security, and also economic ties at the same time. So those are quite, because those are quite key pillars when it comes to economic growth and development. Now, of course, Putin described the current summit as an attempt that is to move in this very direction. So what kind of direction was he trying to mean? Of course, it's quite a very vast aspect in here. It lies, like I told you, in peace, security, defense. And of course, at the preliminary session, that is at the Russia-Africa Summit, that is in St. Petersburg, that is last week, the president responded to a comment from one of the participants who said that some people are surprised, of course, by Russia's growing attention to Africa. And he says that he doesn't think about, I don't think about surprise, it's about some awareness about this process. That is according to the president of Russia, that is Vladimir Putin. Now, it is more surprising that at some point Russia started to pay less attention to Africa. And of course, we see the growing aspects, you know, the battle for Africa, away from the Western domination. Now, the Russian leader added that, but given the futures, Africa's future, given its potential and their inventory of achievements for the past decades, it is absolutely natural that Russia and Africa are rebuilding relations, and this process will only gain momentum. That's according to President Putin, how he was addressing that. Now, he described the current summit, the recent summit, of course, now this is recent, as an attempt to move, of course, in that direction. And last week was the second last day, Friday was the second last day of the Russia-Africa Summit taking place in St. Petersburg Expo Forum Convention Center, and of course an economic and humanitarian forum which is running parallel to the event. Of course, like the previous summit, this one is being held under the motto for peace, security, and development. Yeah, peace, security, and development. But though, of course, the only question is that, you know, when you are talking about cooperation among the different countries, there is this whole aspect that comes up and says, I mean, you got to have something that you provide, that you bring to the table, that actually makes the person that you plan to trade with, that you have, that makes you feel like you're an asset to them. Because Russia has oil, and actually some of the key aspects that President Yoweri Museveni talked about partnering with Russia was in terms of oil exploration and at the same time fertilizer, you know, making fertilizers. But you see, lots of people have come out to criticize this, trying to say that actually Russia has oil. Uganda has oil, but it's little, right? So how shall we have such a thing in a way? It's just been on the critics that what does Uganda have to offer that Russia can look up to and feel like, well, this is something that we can actually partner with Uganda, you know. As such, when it comes to fertilizers, Russia is one of those countries that actually have the best supplies fertilizers that's across the continent of Europe, you know. So you can get to see Uganda, well, we could, but of what supplement, what would our output actually be of supplement to Russia? So those are some of the key aspects that you need to ask yourself right there. So I think this is something that should really challenge us as Ugandans, that what is that thing that we can actually produce that when we meet any world leader or when we meet any person out there, that we can actually stand out in terms of what we present to them, for it to add up quite a big aspect. You know?
I mean, because what I feel is the issue is, I feel like the only thing I would be afraid of, we could do something, but consistency. I feel like there are moments, there are seasons where something, because these people need a supply almost on, I don't know, weekly or monthly or daily. So
yeah,
imagine,
it has to be consistent.
yes, it has
and
to
it's
be
a big country.
It's a big country. So imagine you're in a season where things are not going well. At the end of the day, if you cannot produce as expected, they'll cut you off.
Actually, somebody said it's like going with having a jerrycan of water, and you are in a group of people that own oceans, and you tell them that you can actually solve an issue of water, yet you have a jerrycan or a tank of 30 liters. So that's what some of the critics were trying to talk about towards Uganda's, of course, what kind of a deal does Uganda have with Russia? Because
it doesn't, when we collaborate as Africa, you bring a jerry can, I also bring a jerry can, we can push this thing.
But it's one thing, okay, I could have a lake, you have an ocean, it could be okay, but an ocean and a jerry can, under normal circumstances, someone may not really mind, because we don't have quite many projects which Russia has invested in Africa.
Yes,
if you are to take
yes.
such, you know, because it would be like underutilization of assets. If I bring all my entire assets from my country to bring them to your country only to exploit something too small, because our oil, I feel like the Chinese are already in here, the French, the Total partnering. Now, of course, there's a suggestion that also Russian companies should come in here. Don't you feel like all this is going to be, it's too little? Because the president clearly said it, we have our little oil. You know, it's so.
But anyway, I believe these people always find means of getting something out of us. They will get it.
They'll get it.
They'll get it.
Okay. Very interesting in that aspect. But of course, I don't know what you think about that. What does Uganda have to offer to Russia, according to your opinion, and all that? Of course, you can hit us up on our social media handle, at Smart24TV on Twitter, as you can actually tell us what is that thing. And away from just Uganda and Russia, what is that aspect that you feel like that Uganda should actually concentrate on? That when that once it's mentioned somewhere,
they know it's
Uganda. They know
Uganda.
it is Uganda. It's like how you talk about coffee, Brazil comes in mind. You know, and so many other aspects.
I'm actually starting to I'm thinking in my head as well. I'm like, what is the one thing that Uganda is known for?
What is it?
I can't wrap my head around. I mean, we have bits of something. We don't have that universal.
So we are everywhere.
We're everywhere. In milk, we're there, and
Jack of all trades, but a master to none.
Yeah. So I don't. Anyway, with time we shall master our art. We shall know where our strength lies.
Okay.
Yes, and we shall be able to deliver. Don't lose hope.
Okay. Well, it's 15 minutes past 7, and that is it for our morning call. Now let's switch our eyes and take a look at what's happening onto the price. Well, with me, we have the East African, of course, which comes out every Monday. We have the Daily Monitor and the New Vision with us. And of course, I'm going to be taking you through both the Daily Monitor and the East African, as Masika Katumi is going to be taking us through the New Vision. But anyway, to kickstart off briefly here, of course, on the top page of the East African, there is something, a very interesting headline, which I'm seeing here, Putin-Africa ties, and they're asking a question, who's fooling whom? It's right here, just right there. Who is fooling whom? That is the Putin-Africa. Now, hunger in Africa has offered Russia a chance, that is to fight Western isolation. That is by acquiring new needy friends as African leaders. Of course, use this to drive a bargain with the global powers. So needy friends, Africa, we are the needy friends in that. And of course, all coming towards the aspect of hunger, you know. Now, still further, we see Kenya-Uganda revive the standard gauge railway. And of course, the two partners have launched, that is a bid to find finances and extend the line to Uganda border